And welcome back, everyone, to technically we're on part 4 now because I just did I did the first video, or just any random Pokemon. Then I'm going by type now. So, yeah, part 4, if we'll call it. It's not in parts, it's just by types. Pokemon that I think need to be made. Now, 2 things. 1, I didn't realize how many views that last video of mine was going to get. Thanks for everyone who's watched that. 2nd, to the one person who said, you sound like someone who's just not satisfied with ever, or who's never happy and can't be satisfied with what's given, or something like that. That was the line something they said like that. Actually, hold on. I want to find that quote exactly, because I'm like, okay, guy, I think you're missing the point of the video. What exactly was it that that person said? Hold on 1 second here. Hold on, where was it? Oh, you seem like someone who's just never satisfied and can't enjoy the product. And I said, I'm sorry to give that, but I've enjoyed every game. These are just my desires for future products. That's all this is. Look, this is just me. Is there a little bit of, like, complaints sometimes? Sure, we all have those as fans. But is it me not being satisfied? No. And by the way, how did you get that from only 5 suggestions for a fire type? You sound like someone who wants to find a reason to complain, personally. But I'm not trying to start anything. I'm just saying, like seriously? And then a lot of people kind of try to clap back about the volcano Pokemon I mentioned. About how one person said, sorry, but Mega Camerupt is a volcano on its head. First off, the volcano's on its back. Second off, that's a Mega form, not its original form. That's very different. I'm talking about a straight-on volcano-based Pokemon. Original Camerupt kind of does fall into that category a little bit, but I'm talking about like volcano as the base design inspiration, not something that just has a volcano stuck on its back. That doesn't work. And someone brought up Colossal, but I mentioned that's coal baseline. But anyway, I'm talking fire. It's time to cool down. It's time to get a little wet. It's time to talk about water. And I'll tell you what, right now, water was actually a little bit more difficult to think of. Because water is the most populated type we have. It's literally the type that has the most Pokemon to it. And so it's the one that has the most designs put into it, including repeat designs. We have God knows how many fish Pokemon. I'm not going to go over sharks again because I think that just speaks for itself. We need more shark Pokemon. Despite the fact we did just get Titan this generation, we only actually have, think about this, 1 whale Pokemon. So that, I could have gone more in depth with that, but I didn't put it on the list. But I'm just going over things. But we got multiple fish. We got multiple jellyfish. We got multiple crustaceans. We got at least 1 water crocodile line. A bunch of water like reptiles as well. Water turtles. I don't think we have a sea snake based Pokemon yet, so that might be an avenue you could go down. But we've got sea serpents. We've got many aquatic birds. And we've got many aquatic mammals. So thinking of 5 or 5 animals, and that's what I usually try to stick with, 5 animals, to base some ideas of what I would think we need for water-based Pokemon, proved to be a little more challenging this time around. But that being said, I think I got a few. So let's start out with a water-based elephant. Now we have Donphan and we have Phanpy. We have the Copperajah line. And technically speaking, the Piloswine line and Mamoswine are technically mammoths. But A, we really don't have many elephant-based Pokemon. And B, elephants are very aquatic creatures. The fact that our 2 elephant-based Pokemon are based off a tire, basically, when it comes to Donphan, because when it rolls up, it looks like a tire with treads. And its 2 Paradox forms, it's very similar. And just an iron elephant, like a teacup or teapot elephant, and then just an iron shovel elephant. I feel like we're underutilizing the concept of an elephant here. There's a lot you could do with an elephant. Technically speaking, in fact, you know what? That'd be if I were more of an artist than I am, and I did Fakemon stuff, I would make an elephant of every type. That'd be kind of cool. But regardless, I think we're pretty primed for a water elephant. And furthermore, it would make a lot of sense to make it, say, a starter Pokemon. I've seen a lot, and there's a lot of fan-made elephant starters out there, particularly a lot of elephant water starters. And just elephant fan-mades in general that are water. So I think if we depend, I think it all depends on where our next region is. Assuming that Pokemon lasts until we run out of places to go. Eventually, we would get an elephant starter. Places like Africa or India would be prime for that. In fact, I had once written out concepts for like an Indian-based region, and I had done like a water buffalo, which cows are sacred in India. But I think I would probably replace the water buffalo starter with an elephant instead. Keep the typing, which was ground water. But yeah, I'd probably go that route. Regardless, though, I think we are primed for an elephant. But what we're more primed for? How the hell are we not out of platypus yet? Now look, let's be very fair here. If they're holding out for the Australian region, if we're eventually going to get an Australian region, which, again, statistically, given the amount of areas they're able to cover in the world and when you really look at how much square footage in the world they've covered when it comes to regions, which is not a lot, they created 4 regions. 4 out of just Japan alone, and in theory, they could get more. So I have to believe at some point, someday, we will get an Australian-based region. Now, is that going to be Gen 10, Gen 20? Who knows? But I have a feeling that we're most likely waiting for the Australian region to get platypus Pokemon. And like a lot of people point out, it would be a prime Pokemon to be a starter as well. And either make it like a water fighting or do something cool. Maybe one of the gimmicks of the Australian-based region is that there are split evolutions depending on gender. Because male platypuses are the poisonous one. They're the ones that have the barb on their leg. Females don't. So if you have a male Pokemon platypus, a male version of this mon, then you could have a you could have a poison type, but say if you have the female version, maybe you get a fairy type. Maybe the female counters the male. Because I can't think of a type that's strong against poison other than ground. Although, actually, maybe you give it ground, and that way the male could beat the female, but the female could also beat the male, and you may even it out. That could work, regardless. Platypus is ripe for picking for designs. If you've ever played Temtems, they got a platypus Pokemon, platypus Temtem as well. So, yeah, no, I definitely think it's time for the platypus to make its debut, but we'll wait and see what happens there. You know who else needs to make their debut, though? The lovable manatee. Look at this. Look at this dumb lot. Look at this sweet little punim here. You just want to stick your face in there and go, oh, hello, friend. And they're such friendly little dolts. It's illegal to pet them. If you're swimming with them, you can't pet them. It is illegal to do so. But they are just so friendly, inquisitive little guys. There's a lot you could do with a manatee Pokemon. A psychic water type, or like kind of in the same vein as like a Muna or Musharna. A grass water type because they spend so much time munching. There are plenty of fan-made manatees Pokemon out there. And before you say something, Seel is not based off a manatee. Dugong, despite the name, is not based off either a Dugong or a Seel. That's just the name. Manaphy kind of has manatee in the name, but it's very clear that's not a manatee Pokemon. I would also see, by the way, this Pokemon would be obviously heavy on defense, special and physical, and probably HP. It'd probably be more of like a Chansey type Pokemon where it's not designed for dishing out hits, but more designed for support and aid. So maybe like a water fairy or a water grass type. Either way, a manatee is a mon that kind of I think needs to happen because look how cute manatees are so cute. They really are just big sea puppies. They just want to say hi, munch on you, and get a pet. That's all they want. I mean, look at that face. Regardless, though. Yeah. Speaking of manatees, though, or segueing from manatees, you know what legend is based possibly off of manatees? Mermaids. Think about this for a second. I mean, there are plenty of mythical creatures we still don't have Pokemon based off of yet, but we really don't have anything really resembling a mermaid. Tapu Fini, I think, kind of comes close, but it's really not a mermaid. Like, if I think of all water Pokemon off the top of my head here real quick, There's definitely nothing in Gen 1 that really represents a mermaid. Nothing in Gen 2. Not really anything in Gen 3. Nope, nothing in Gen 4 or 5. Like, the closest you could get is Dugong or Primarina. Primarina is probably the closest you get to a mermaid. And even then, that's a seal. It is still very much a seal. Yes, it still has like the bikini top on there, but its design is mermaid-esque. But that, even if you want to count that as a mermaid, that's one mermaid out of over 1,000 Pokemon. Technically speaking, Vaporeon could also qualify as well. But I really don't look at Vaporeon and think mermaid. I look at Vaporeon and think Vaporeon. It's a weird aquatic fox with a bit of a mermaid tail, admittedly. But again, so if you want to get technical, and let's be clear, we're now pushing the definitions of a mermaid a little bit. You got two Pokemon. Not even a line of Pokemon. Not even the same line of Pokemon. But two Pokemon that do resemble mermaids out of over 1,000. Think we need to be working on that a bit more. Last but not least, though, I want to talk about our lovely friend, the Anemone. We have Lileep and Cradily. Technically speaking, they are based off of anemones, although they are a bit more closely representing of like sea lilies. Kind of. They're kind of a weird mix of both. But technically speaking, they are. But an anemone is such a weird thing because it is an animal. It is classified as in a phylum of animals. But it's a weird creature to kind of crack the code on and how to design it. That being said, again, if I were to hypothetically look up anemone Pokemon, let's just see if I can find some anemone Pokemon right now. You can't see what I'm looking up, but let's see. Anemone. Sea anemone. Hold on. Sea anemone. And by the way, I spelt it on a whim, not knowing how to spell it, but I spelled it right, amazingly. It's Anemone. So, sea anemone Pokemon. All right, let's see what comes up exactly. So, we have Lileep when this fair. That's the one I brought up. They apparently classified Mareanie under that. That is not what Mareanie is based off of. It's based off the Crown of Thorns starfish. Toxapex specifically is based off of that. However, I can see design aspects of an anemone when it comes to Mareanie, but in itself is not an anemone. It's more of a Crown of Thorns starfish. That being said, I'm in terms of finding fan mail, I'm already finding some here. Like a regional version of a Victory Bell that's actually an anemone. A regional version of an Oddish. Yeah, I can find anemone-esque Pokemon here. They're a bit more farther and few between than some other designs, but I can find them. So it's not like it's impossible, but I will admit, in terms of all the mod I've suggested today, this is one where I think the code's a little hard to crack on a solid design. That said, let's go, seeing as they do still resemble plants, let's go with, say, a water grass type. Barbaracle. I believe it's Barnacle or Barnacle, whatever, Barnacle. And then Barbaracle. They're basically based off barnacles. And technically speaking, they look a little anemone-ish. So, alternate typing, give it a grass type instead, and you have a regional variant that's in a bunch of anemones together instead. There you go. I just solved the problem. And by the way, like I said, this one I'm not as up in arms about. This one I'm more like, yeah, it'd be cool to see it, and I think we need another one. But we're not rushing this one out. We don't need it ASAP. Unlike something like, say, a mermaid, definitely think we need that one ASAP. Manatee, you can take a little bit more of your time, but need it ASAP. Platypus needed ASAP, but unless it's coming with the Australian region, it kind of makes sense to hold off on it. And another elephant. Yeah, I think we need that one ASAP too. But either way, that's my thoughts. What do you think? What more do you think we need for the water type? Because honestly, a lot of the water type avenues have been explored on some level. We keep getting more fish Pokemon, so I don't need to be suggesting fish. I've already brought up the shark in the first video. Maybe more whales. I think more whales is definitely on the table. Maybe more like squid or octopus on some level. Though we already have Octillery, we had the Malamar line, Grapplock line. There's definitely still avenues you could go with the like mollusks like that though. Sea slugs, we could definitely do more with that. Eels, certainly we could look more into eels. Actually, eels is actually not a bad one here. That was one I realized I should have put on here. Because when we really stop and think about it, what do we have for eels? We got the Wiglet and Wugtrio line. They're based off of, what is it, pipe eels or glass eels, I think it is? Or either way, they're based off eels. Technically speaking, Gorbis and Huntail are kind of based off eels, but not really. They're a little mix of everything. Beyond that, though, like I'm trying to think of another eel-based Pokemon. And I am drawing a blank. Let's see here. Not Lamprey. Tynamo line with, why am I blanking on its name? It's the pure electric that has Levitate, therefore it has no weakness. Hold on. Eel Pokemon. And I'm blanking on the name. Why am I blanking on the name? Electros, that's it. The Electros line is partly inspired by eels, but it's actually more inspired partly by hagfish and lampreys more than eels. So yeah, and like if you just type in eel Pokemon and look up fan-made eel Pokemon, there are so many ideas. By the way, my Milotic is not an eel; it's based off an oarfish, so that doesn't count. Regardless, though, that's my thoughts. What did you think? Or what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, though. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.